We've actually got a caller on air, Durganand. Hello?
Yeah, hello there.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, all right. I'm listening to the program.
Mm-hmm.
I think this ploy of secularism is by the Western countries to beat the Hindus only.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't apply secularism to Islamic countries. It doesn't apply even to USA or even to here in Britain.
Yeah.
But they always beat Hindus about secularism by they don't practice it themselves.
I think there is some pressure on India to be a secular state.
That's what I mean. So there's no such thing as secularism. It's a ploy to beat Hindus only, that's all.
So, Durganandji, thank you very much for that. But I have a question for you. Why is it that we can see this, you can see this, but why is it that the Indians who are suffering as a result of this ploy, why are they not able to just point the finger at whoever points to them and say, well, hang on a minute, please put your own house in order first, and then come and talk to us? Why do you think that is?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's our education system for the past 60 years. It's been going a rotten system where British left it. Congress, they have started from the same thing which was left by the British. Nothing has changed. We are still the slave boys. Our mentality is still of the slave boys and girls thinking in slave mentality.
It could be that India wants to please Westerners. Indians want to please Britain, and they want to kind of, be accepted.
Yeah, there is a vast body of knowledge now and literature which talks about the desire to please being part of an oppressed psychology. So in all nations where a colonial power has dominated and has perhaps indoctrinated even people into the notion that to get ahead they need to please their rulers, that leaves a footprint in the psyche of a nation, and it takes a bit of time to move beyond that.
Is this the Stockholm Syndrome?
Yes, a similar sort of thing, but on a national scale. Thank you very much, Durganandji, for that.
Thank you very much for your call.
I think Durganandji's point was actually quite a good one. The slave mentality. Maybe it's something about, I don't know, Indians generally, where we want to please. You want to give an explanation. You want to. I've often seen this where people feel the need to apologise for having a slightly different view, and there's nothing actually wrong with it. Maybe it's just to fit in because it's easier.
I think it's because India is a majority Hindu country, yet you can't really say that, it's a Hindu country or it celebrates Hindu things, because there's always a view that India should be secular and should please everyone. And
there's a cultural degree of apologetic thoughts and undercurrents running there. So that whenever... Actually, there may be truth in this, because even in this country I found that people on occasion are a little bit reluctant to declare, yes, I'm a Hindu, and to do it with... chest expanded and a bit of pride and strength. There is something in that, but maybe that's changing. And we're talking about a secular solution to a nation's organisation and administration, whether it's the right thing. And we'll be coming back very shortly after a few words from our sponsors.
Hello everyone, welcome back to a reasonable conversation with Prerna and Satish. How are you guys doing?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, very good.
Getting warmed up.
Yeah, we've had a pretty interesting conversation so far about whether Britain is secular or not, and whether being, belonging to a secular nation is good or not. We've had a really great response, loads of texts, loads of calls coming in. So if you are interested and have an opinion which you'd like to say out loud, feel free to give us a call, and the number is...
Our studio number is 0208 472 9292, or text lines 07961 387 787. You can also tweet us at nusound 92FM.
Wonderful. While we're talking about current affairs and secularity and the move away from or towards secularity, it might be worth mentioning that the results are coming in now for the elections that were being held in India. And there is something that's happening which is very relevant to the conversation today. What we're seeing seems to be a swing from a Congress position, which has always been presented as a very secular party, towards a BJP position. And the thing that strikes me, the BJP in Madhya Pradesh have just announced that they've won 150 seats. Wow. And are likely to get 13 more, while the Congress have only won 50, and they're expecting to get up to another 10. Now that is a huge shift. And with a shift like that, it's not possible if only one community is doing this. So are we seeing a phenomenon where people from different religions and different ethnic backgrounds are actually coming together to support a non-secular party?
I think so. I mean, with Modi, the leader of BJP in Gujarat, he's had such an overwhelming response and support from people in Gujarat as well. He's been elected so many times, and he can't do that just on Hindu votes alone. So other religious groups have been voting for him too.
So we do have here then what seems to be a move towards selecting a party which has a religious identity, and yet it's being supported by people who are from across the secular divide.
Yeah, maybe that just suggests that religion isn't that big a deal. Does it make that much difference?
Okay, so people are voting for other reasons, not just the religious identity.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think, when you vote, especially in this country, you look for policies, don't you, generally? And, I think, a candidate's religion or their religious views, as long as they're not extreme or anything or pushing it on people, I don't think that makes too much difference, does it? You want politicians to be politicians, not religious leaders.
Oh, that's true. Prerna, what you were just saying about Modi, he has shown, hasn't he, over the last decade, that not only has he been able to deliver stability, economic growth and expansion, but also a very successful model for integration.
Definitely.
And maybe that's what people are voting for. So the religious identity doesn't necessarily need to be the catalyst here.
Not really. And just because he is a Hindu and he does believe in Hinduism doesn't mean that he should be ostracised, because he's not ashamed to say, yes, I'm a Hindu and I'm patriotic. Because I know he's been unfairly targeted as being a Hindu fundamentalist just because he has said he's a Hindu. But if that was the case, then all our leaders would have to be atheists, because if they said that, David Cameron, I'm a Christian, people would interpret that as he wants to implement Christian ideology, which isn't the case.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think even with atheists, you could probably have a go at them and say, you're trying to take everyone's faith away from them. You've got your own view and your own agenda.
Exactly.
So...
Okay. Well, another result that's just come in, the Rajasthan elections, those results are coming in as well, and it seems to be mirroring exactly the same process that was happening in Madhya Pradesh. There seems to be a big swing, and again, it's a move from a Congress secular ticket to the BJP ticket.
I mean, I think a lot of this, again, in politics, it's about policy and it's about leadership as well. Right, I mean, it's who you think can actually run a country.
A charismatic leader.
Yeah, exactly. Nelson Mandela passed away fairly recently, right? And, we remember him for what he did, the sacrifices he made, more so than his religious background or his religious views. That doesn't seem to be that significant compared to all the other stuff.
That's true. People should be judged on what they do as opposed to what religious beliefs they have.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Okay. We've just got a glimpse of a text. Somebody has sent in a text, and it's to do with the secular society. In England, we actually have a society called the Secular Society.
Oh, we do?
Yes, we do. And their challenge is to challenge religious privilege. So they have created an identity which is all built on challenging the rights which certain groups take for themselves over and above the rights of other people by using a religious label.
That's interesting. We've just had a text in from Vikram. He said there is no country that is secularist, as every country believes in either religion or spirituality. Yeah,
I'm just trying to think. Is there any country which is...
That was Vikram, was it? Who texted that? Vikram, thanks very much for that text.
There was Turkey, which, I don't know, it's been founded upon secularist principles, and it has been a secular country, but I think now it's slowly shifting.
Yeah.
So Vikram may be right.
No, I think you might be. I mean, I think you've got to be careful when you say these sorts of things, because I think Vikram's got a point. I mean, if you look at America, right, America's constitution, the way the country's been set up, I think is mainly secular. But the influence of Christianity in America is actually very strong. And although that's not, enshrined in the constitution or, in something formal, it's still there. It's still very big. So there's a difference between, something actually formally being a part of the setup of the state and something exerting influence into it, but not actually having a formal position.
So are you saying that it's possible that some groupings of people, they actually get the best of both worlds, where they present a secular front to the outside world, and then possibly internally the mechanisms and the structures that are in place are far from secularist? The reality on the ground is totally different to what it seems to be portrayed as.
That could be possible, yeah. And I think taking it even further, maybe going into conspiracy theory territories now.
Go for it.
You can, these sorts of societies could actually use, potentially, secularism to get rid of other religious competition, as it were.
And that's very much what Durgananji was putting forward, wasn't he? That it's been created as a tool just to undermine a particular group of people, the Indian nation and the Hindu groups.
Definitely. We've also had a text in from Ashwin. He said, it's a myth we get morals from religion. Religion/theocracy must be kept out of government, otherwise we'll have problems and lose democracy. In India, the problem is that religion has become a big business.
There is truth in that.
Yeah, I think there's definitely truth to that. Yeah, I mean, you can be moral without being religious. Yeah, I think that's completely fair.
What about big business? Has religion become a big business? I think possibly when you go to religious places and they're really badly looked after, but people pump so much money into it, you must think, what's going on there?
Yeah, I attended a little gathering at the House of Commons a couple of weeks ago, and there were a group of people who were adopting exactly the same perspective that our recent caller has adopted, and that they were openly saying that what we have now is multinational corporations who are masquerading as religious groups and institutions. And if you have a look at the manner in which they run their businesses, it mirrors the way in which multinational corporations mirror. There are bottom lines, there are asset bases, there are markets into which they want to penetrate. So what our texter has just sent in is not without substance. There is a very solid, I think, argument to be made that yes, in fact, religion is big business all over the world and has been for quite some time.
Definitely. I mean, you can also see it in Bollywood as well, that certain religions are played to be more favourable than others, and you see it all. Well, when I watch Bollywood films, you can kind of pick up these subtle messages from it.
Are you really sure you want to make that admission?
I love
global
Bollywood.
TV?
Yes. Say it loud and proud.
Okay. Well, I've just had a link sent through, and the academics have been studying this for quite some time as well. There has been a study that was done in the year 2000, it's quite some time now, but they studied the state religions in the year 2000, in 1970, going all the way back to 1900. And over that period, there were 58 countries which had a state religion at all three dates. So they've always been a theocracy, 58 countries right across.
Okay.
And another 58 had some kind of transition. So they moved from possibly being a theocracy to being a democracy, and then maybe even moved back as well. And there were 12 which had two transitions, so they couldn't quite make up their mind at all.
Whether to be religious or not.
Yeah,
religious.
that's right. They tried, and if it didn't quite work out, then move on to something else. Now that sounds to me to be a really reasonable place, and I'm going to try and find out who those countries were.
Definitely.
But 4 of them had 2 forms of state religion, and so this is the former Soviet republics. They actually had 2 different types of state religion.
What do you mean by that? 2 different types. How does that work?
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Orthodox Christian and...
Yeah, it was certainly, there were flavours of Christianity. They didn't have 2 separately identified religions, but within themselves they had 2 very dominant different identities within the Christian religion.
Well, do keep your texts coming in. The number's 07961 387 787 and our studio number's 0208 472 9292. Do keep your thoughts coming in.